And the comparison between words from the Conservatives, a lot of it misleading, and what it is that a Liberal government would actually do, and we are doing.
Are nation-building projects to the benefit of every single Canadian, but these guys killed every single one, and that, Madam Speaker, is the truth.
Gang, what's up? Aaron here, Canadian Looney. Smash the like, hit subscribe. We're excited to see MP Shannon Stubbs back in the House. The silver tongue from Alberta is going to mop the floor with Secretary to the House Leader, Kevin Lamoureux. He's a loudmouth, and he is going to get wiped out here by Shannon Stubbs. Let's take a look. Happy to see Shannon Stubbs back.
Bill C-48, the shipping ban that blocks Canadian oil exports from the West Coast, while foreign dictator oil and U.S. oil tankers still pass through and on every other coast and canal. The federal industrial carbon tax that hikes the cost of everything Canadians buy across the supply chain, and that the U.S., Canada's biggest competitor, does not have federally. The ban on gas and diesel vehicles that will hike prices up to $20,000 for consumers, expose retailers to criminal charges, and limit Canadians' freedom of choice, and which the U.S. doesn't impose on itself. The plastics ban that hurts responsibly produced Canadian manufacturing that the U.S. doesn't have, and it hikes the cost of groceries everywhere. And the Liberal energy censorship law that stops Canadian businesses from talking about their environmental track record and innovation unless it matches the government's talking points. Sounds a bit like that regime that Prime Minister waffles on, doesn't it? The Liberals also say they intend to make changes, but still haven't actually axed the oil and gas cap that is the only one of its kind in the world and will kill 54,000 Canadian jobs by 2032 and cut $21 billion from Canada's economy, and they know it. Who can afford this? But don't take my word. Last April, in an extremely unusual Canadian action, 38 energy CEOs told the Prime Minister to simplify regulation and scrap Bill C-69, Bill C-48, and the oil and gas cap to build Canada now, they said, since the law, quote, impedes development. The laws, quote, impede development, and existing processes are uncertain, complex, unpredictable, subjective, and excessively long, like we and every single expert has been telling them for a decade. By September, 96 energy CEOs sent a follow-up. It's now almost February 2026. I don't know what this PM considers generational speed, and although they know a lot about generational theft, but thousands of major projects have been built faster than this in our country, and still nothing is actually being built. Right now, the U.S. Department of Energy's emergency permitting procedures can approve oil, gas, critical minerals, and uranium projects in as little as 28 days on federal lands. The weird truth is the U.S. Department of Energy and Defense can build projects faster than any private sector proponent in Canada can dream. But the Liberals want Canadians to believe that the $246 million projects bureaucracy will solve the problem they created, but it's still being set up, and the process is still uncertain, complex, and opaque. Conservatives will give certainty to Canada, as we've always said. In addition to fixing the fundamentals, not ragging the puck with workarounds, we'll create a Canada First reinvestment tax cut that to end capital gains taxes on reinvestments in Canadian businesses and projects, a free trade bonus that rewards provinces for moving into provincial trade barriers, require the industry minister to table a comprehensive plan to prevent Canada's inventions, technologies, intellectual property, and strategic assets from being sold to foreign state-owned or state-influenced interests, and it safeguards Canadian ownership and control of critical technologies to ensure Canadian economic Canadian sovereignty. And after all those promises, nearly a year into the Prime Minister's term and 11 years into this government, Canadians do not need more grand speeches or photo ops. They need results. Conservatives want big projects to get built in Canada by the private sector, efficiently, safely, affordably, with the top standards, with Canadian materials for Canadians' public interests. And if they're truly serious about making Canada an energy superpower, they have to show it now. The stakes for our country are much too high to dither, debate, and delay anymore. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Questions and comments. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, it's interesting when the leader of the Conservative Party sat around the Conservative cabinet with Stephen Harper. I think we need to realize that they did not even build 1 inch of pipeline going to the West Coast, going through BC. Not 1 inch. That is the actual reality. They will say, well, we built some pipelines that went down to the States. Yes, that is true. They did build some pipelines going to the States, Madam Speaker. At the end of the day, in listening to the member opposite, I would welcome, and I'll be providing the opportunity to show the contrast between the Conservative agenda compared to the Liberal Party agenda. And that's why in the last federal election, Canadians voted for a new Prime Minister, 70 new Liberal members of Parliament, because they saw in the comparison between words from the Conservatives, a lot of it misleading, and what it is that a Liberal government would actually do, and we are doing.
Quick reminder, gang, smash a like, hit subscribe. We work really hard on this stuff. Let's get back to the video.
My question to the member is, can she clearly indicate how many inches of pipeline they constructed between Alberta and BC?
The honourable member for Lakeland.
11-year-old government is real desperate when they keep talking about a dude who hasn't been Prime Minister for like, what, 15 years or something, right? But just to be clear, in case they haven't Googled it or listened to us over the last 10 years, of course, 4 pipelines were constructed under Stephen Harper's government, including a Line 9B reversal, which actually fuels Ontario and Quebec with oil and gas. So that is actually the record. And the intergovernmental pipelines for export to diversify markets beyond the U.S., those proposals were made under the Stephen Harper government, under the former Conservative government, with our leader as a top minister, because the private sector had confidence that they could build and invest in major nation-building projects to the benefit of every single Canadian, but these guys killed every single one. And that, Madam Speaker, is the truth.
Questions et commentaires. Questions and comments. The honourable member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and our honourable friend from Lakeland. It's good to see her back in this place and well. And we were deeply concerned when she was in hospital during the time of the budget debate. Sorry, Madam Speaker, just had to be said. And I also want to say that while she will know that we agree on more things than others might imagine, on the offshore tanker issue, just to say that where U.S. and offshore foreign tankers pass by Canada's waters and British Columbian waters, they pass on the outside, because that's the direct route from Alaska to Washington State. They don't come in through the inside passages that are covered by C-48. And I wonder if we can agree that we should probably stick to the facts of the geography and the waters where tankers move and where they don't. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
For Lakeland.
Thank you to that member for her kind words and her warm wishes. And I know that we do have probably a bit of an unusual personal relationship, so her words mean more to me than people probably can imagine. And I hope that the people of Lakeland will continue to have confidence in me, despite the fact that I just said those words. But I agree with her. I agree with her that we have to set the facts straight about C-48. And actually, this is a lesson in how effective the Liberals were to eat the NDP opposition whole, while the NDP didn't actually do their job. Because in fact, C-48 did not give any teeth to the voluntary exclusion zone that the member references. It didn't actually do anything of the sort if one believes that marine tanker traffic is an irreparable and ecological harm to the marine environment. Because what C-48 actually did, which is why we know that it's only to block oil exports from Alberta, was ban the on and offloading of crude and persistent oils at ports in that region, and tankers of a certain capacity, a certain volume, and a certain weight, which would be the super tankers that would go to the direct, safest, deep water route to Asia that would have happened if the Liberals had redone Indigenous consultation on Northern Gateway, just like every single one of those Indigenous communities that had mutual benefits agreements on them wanted it, and he never consulted them.
Another question. The honourable member for Swift Current, Grasslands, Kindersley.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I just want to thank my colleague for her fantastic speech. And I just want to ask her, the government is looking for some quick, simple, easy wins, and the Sovereignty Act is obviously just that. There's so many great parts to it that would remove barriers that industry has been telling us for over a decade. We've been on the same committee together many times, and we've heard over and over and over again. So I'm wondering if my colleague would just like to maybe inform the government about what some of the conversations that have happened at committee from stakeholders about the need to pass something like the Sovereignty Act to try to kickstart development here in Canada.
The honourable member for Lakeland in 10 seconds or less.
Oh, thank you to that MP for Saskatchewan and near and dear friend to Alberta and Albertans. Yes, I mean, the Liberals know exactly what to do to fix the problems that they've created, because they've listed the laws and the regs that block building in the back of C5. So that's why Conservatives are saying, just fix the fundamentals, fix the law for everybody, set the rules of the game, make sure that we can compete and beat the United States so the private sector could create jobs with the highest standards in the world and develop our natural resources to benefit the whole country and our allies.
Resume.
We'll wrap it up right there, gang. Aaron at Canadian Looney. Smash the like, hit subscribe, get your Canadian federal politics right here. We cover the House of Commons, all things that happen in Parliament, legacy media sometimes, and then lots of other things. That's it. Thanks for watching the video. We'll catch you in the next one. Ciao for now.